Hi, my name is Alyssa, Christy. I'm from First Settling God San Antonio, and the title of my sermon is Another in the Fire. The sermon scriptures I'm going to be using are Matthew 5:10, Daniel 3, Matthew 11:29 through 30, and Luke 9:23. As a kid, we moved a lot. In my lifetime, I've lived in Arizona, Alaska, New York, and Texas. Because we moved so much, I met new people often, and I wanted everyone to like me. Now, this desire had allowed me to believe that swearing and using God's name in vain was okay, but it isn't. I wanted everyone that I hung out with to like me, but when you're doing the right thing, not everyone's going to like you. All my friends were atheists and didn't believe in God, and eventually that had led me into depression and sin, trying to be like them. Because you see, when you're trying to be cool to the world, you have to be like the world, but that's not what God calls us to do. God calls us to be different from the world, set apart, which is my first point. We are set apart. But how do we live apart from the world? How do we act different? Well, in order to do that, we have to sacrifice some of the things we like. For me, I stopped using or listening to certain music. I even stopped using certain beauty products. I decided I need to stop worrying about how I look and start worrying about how I act. Am I acting like Jesus, or am I acting like the world? I strive to be liked by everyone, but when you're doing the right thing, not everyone's going to like you. Matthew 5:10 says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." If you're bullied because you're a Christian, let me tell you, keep hope, because Jesus has made you a promise, and he is a promise keeper. In Daniel 3, we see the story of 4 men in the fire. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar had made an image of gold and demanded all his people worship him and the gold image. Now, so music started playing and everyone began to worship, all except for 3 men who refused to worship anything and anyone who isn't our God. Now, the king was furious and demanded a furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. A normal furnace is hot. I don't like that. Now, the king was furious and threw them into the fire. And in verses 24 and 25, he said he saw 4 men in the fire. He said the 4th man looked like the Son of God, which leads me to my second point. Jesus is there. Jesus was with them in the furnace, keeping them from the heat of the flames. He's with you. He's with you, leading you and guiding you, even when it's hard. He led all of Israel out of Egypt. Even in the desert, he gave them manna to eat and the guidance they needed. What makes you think he can't do the same for you? Now, he'll bless you and give you everything that you need and more. But in order to get that blessing, we have to surrender and humble our hearts, which is my last point, surrender. Matthew 11:29-30 says, "Take my yoke upon you, learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. You will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." When you come to the Lord in humility, we gain so much peace, along with joy, love, hope, and rest. I want that. Don't you? Now, the Bible commands us to submit to God, so why is it so hard? Well, it could be pride. I know that's what it is for me. Pride can harden our hearts from any help or guidance. And when you're trying to put Jesus in there, it's not a great mix. So Luke 9:23 says, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." Die to yourself and live to your spirit. Humble your heart and come to the Lord. The author Lisa Turker said, "Remember, God is using all your experiences, both good and bad, to develop your character to match your calling." When I was younger, I was trying to be like the world, but Jesus was still with me. He had led me into learning the piano, which opened the door for him to call me to be a worship pastor. He's still working on me, and he can work on you. We just have to humble our hearts and allow him to work on us. We are set apart from the world, and Jesus is with us, and he will show us how to do that. But in order to get the blessing of Jesus being with us, we have to surrender. So I have one question for you today. Are you willing to humble your heart? Are you willing to surrender?